Hi, I'm Claudia Brown Coulter with Pivotal Peace. I am your go-to mediator for navigating divorce while parenting children with special needs. I am also a legal document assistant, LDA, based in the greater Los Angeles area. Let's talk about your retirement. Ooh. Sometimes people forget their retirement, and I wonder if it's intentional. Oh, you want some of that? Oh, you don't really? I'm wondering sometimes if it's intentional. I bet you about half the time it's not, though. That means half the time it is. But hey, bringing it up today. Let's talk about your retirement. Do you have retirement? California is a community property state. That means things acquired, earned, owed, incurred during the marriage can be subject to equal division. Right in half, 50-50. It doesn't mean they have to be, but they can be. So it also doesn't mean your entire retirement. It just means a portion from the date of marriage to the date of separation. Date of marriage, date of separation. That's it. That's what it means. This portion is entitled to be split, however you want to. Okay, it's subject to community property laws. So let's talk about that and how you can do that the correct way. Because there's a wrong way to do it. And you know what happens when you do something wrong and it has to do with retirement? You got to pay extra taxes. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be you. Let's not pay any extra taxes that you don't need to. So, if you've got a 401k, a 403b, or some other defined benefit contribution, then you most likely need a qualified domestic relations order. You can have a conversation about your 401k, your 403b, or whatever else you have, and talk about how you divide it. How is it going to be divided? But then there's an extra step. We're going to come back to that. If you have an IRA or a Roth IRA, you probably don't need a Quadro because it is relatively simple, easy to roll over monies from one IRA to another IRA. Not like that with the 401k. That ain't simple. IRAs, simple. If you have a pension, first of all, you lucky. Yay, you. Secondly, that's really complicated because it's not a defined benefit. Pensions are becoming more and more rare. I see pensions a lot with public employees, so teachers, firefighters, police officers, some city workers, but they're becoming less and less. That you would also need a Quadro. If you try to withdraw monies early, there is a severe tax benefit. One of the things that people do in a divorce sometimes there is a spouse that has almost no retirement and another spouse that has a ton because that one spouse stayed home caring for the kids, or the other working spouse didn't want their other spouse to work and they wanted support in a different way, so they didn't have retirement. Sometimes this spouse here without retirement has begun to work and they're building their retirement, but it's not at all like this retirement here. So this spouse here might not need as much money right away, like in your hand, tangible money. I've seen people go, "Hey, look, you know what? I don't want your money. I want your retirement." Oh, and feelings get hurt. Like, I can't believe you want that. I'm entitled to it. Those aren't usually fun conversations. Okay, but sometimes people go, listen, okay, I need a little bit of cash flow. The cash flow isn't that important to me right now. What is I don't have much retirement savings, so I need some of yours to kind of help me when I get to retirement. Other times I've got people who go, you keep yours and I'll keep mine. You keep yours, I'll keep mine. And that's really, that's really easy. No matter what you choose, if you've got a 401k, 403b, a retirement plan like that, or a pension, there's an extra step. So part of your negotiations is you're going to have to be very, very clear. Is there a dollar amount that is going to be attributed to one spouse, or is there a percentage that's going to be attributed to one spouse? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You just need to define what that is. One of the best things you can do is, if you have a pension, sometimes people with pensions work with actuaries, or they just go to a CDFA. I worked with a woman whose spouse was a police officer, and there was a lot of confusion around his pension. She went to a CDFA, and the CDFA was really able to help untangle and go, okay, this is when you were married, and this is when you were separated, and this is his entire career. You're entitled to this much. And then they were able to reach an agreement and make a plan on the amount she was entitled to. So sometimes you need to bring in extra people to your divorce. And at the time, it might feel like, God dang it, this is extra money. Yes, but you're not going to regret it 10, 20 years from now when you're receiving those retirement checks. You aren't. It's going to be a small price to pay to get it right. I believe I've said this before, but if I haven't, I'm going to say it now. And if I had, well, I'm saying it again. It is very challenging. It is very, very difficult to undo a divorce decree unless there's some sort of evidence of fraud. So if you did not do your due diligence and you signed that, and now you don't like it, you're kind of stuck. This is why I'm like, talk to a CDFA. If you've reached an agreement, before you sign, go consult with an attorney first. You don't have to retain an attorney, consult with them, because you want to do it the right way. Now, you've figured out how we're going to divide this. I'm keeping this IRA, they're keeping this 401k, but we're dividing this pension. Great. There's an extra step. And people mess this up. They've been divorced 20, 30 years, they're ready to retire, and they're like, oh, I can't collect my former spouse's retirement. That's because they didn't go get a Quadro. The Qualified Domestic Relations Order allows a plan administrator to divide the retirement. I don't care what they don't care what your divorce decree says. If they don't have that paperwork, they can't split it up. So, and if your spouse is a serial, what is the right word? I guess there is not a right word. A serial spouse, a serial marriager, somebody who gets married a lot. You got to take your place in line and make sure you can get a piece of that retirement. So you need to follow up your divorce once it's finalized. That's another extra step. Yes, it is money, but what did I just say a couple of minutes ago? It's not going to feel that way a few years from now when you're actually collecting that retirement. It might be $1,000, $2,000 to work with a Quadro attorney, get that Quadro drafted, get it sent to the plan administrator, and then they are able to divide that. Some plans, such as pensions, may allow for a payout as opposed to monthly payments. If it's not your plan and you don't know the answer, you ask your spouse to find the answer. Because if you want that lump sum, then you need to ask for it. The other thing I want you to think about, especially when it comes to pensions, is there a survivor benefit? Because if your spouse dies, well, we all die. So let me rephrase that. When your spouse dies, if they die before you, the pension payments are going to be cut off. So is there a survivor benefit? Because if there is, you should still be able to receive payments. So you need to look at that whole plan and get the information you need so that you can make the right decision. If there aren't survivor benefits, maybe you can do a life insurance policy so that if the spouse whose retirement you were going to get dies early, you can still receive some sort of payment. Or maybe you're the spouse who has the most of the retirement. You can take a life insurance policy out on yourself and have your spouse as a beneficiary, your former spouse as a beneficiary for a certain amount of money. The other thing is you've divorced, you've got the Quadro, you've got that in. Some of these benefits, though, have beneficiaries attached to them. Change that. Once your divorce is finalized, you need to change that. Please. Your heirs will thank you. The last thing you want is your former spouse to be like, they died and they forgot to change their beneficiaries. And guess who it is? It's me. Please don't do that. Don't forget to change that. It's really, really important. I understand that these conversations are very, very uncomfortable, but they need to happen. And it can be very uncomfortable in a mediation session for me to bring up your retirement when you don't want to talk about it. Do not stick your head in the sand. These are conversations that have to happen. You're going to bounce back. It's going to be okay. Have a good week.